Out of the gates and ready to go, and it's Hot Mike with Hudden Withrow here at OutKick and the OutKick YouTube page. Are we buying that the track athlete hit in the head with a baton, that it was an accident? True story. That's what is being claimed, accident. NFL free agency drama continues. The quarterback market continues to be the headline. And will the Eagles follow through and accept the White House invitation? All of that and more straight ahead here on Hot Mike. Hudden Withrow. While you're here at the OutKick YouTube page, we hope you'll like, comment, and subscribe. So we can't be buying this, right? There's no way that this is an accident. If you haven't seen the story, you have to see this. Colin Rugg tweeted this out with video of the girls' 4x200 meter relay. High school track runner gets attacked with a baton in the middle of a relay in the Class 3 state indoor championships in Virginia. Kaylin Tucker, on the second leg of the 4x200 meter relay, this is at Liberty University in Lynchburg. She gets smacked in the head. Right here, you can see the arrow. This is it's pretty cut and dry. The baton to the back of the head. This is like Nancy Kerrigan style for Tanya Harding is what I thought of when I see this, except it's not to the knee. And the girl's mother said that neither the runner nor the coach apologized for this incident. Quote from the Tucker, who suffered a concussion and potential skull fracture here. When we got to the curve, she kept bumping me in my arm, and when we got off the curb, I finally passed her, and that's when she hit me with the baton. It's unclear if Tucker will file charges here, Kaylin Tucker. The story, though, continues because there's an interview here from WAVY in Norfolk, Virginia. Shout out to the naval base there, where the woman, the girl who is carrying the baton that strikes the competitor in the back of the head, well, she's claiming that, no, in fact, it wasn't intentional.
Everybody has feelings. So you're physically hurt, but you're not thinking of my mental, right? They're going off of one angle. A couple times hitting her, my baton got stuck behind her back like this, and it rolled up her back. I lost my balance, and when I pumped my arms again, she got hit. I know my intentions, and I would never hit somebody on purpose. They're assuming my character, calling me ghetto, racist slurs, death threats, all of this just because of a 9-second video.
Narrator, it was intentional. That's the reaction I have to this. The video one more time. I mean, the idea that it's an angle that we're seeing that's just wrong. It's like WWE cuts to this angle just at the right time to make this appear as though it's real. It's real to me, damn it. You've got the strike to the back of the head, and the arm does come forward. But you know, the mental aspect of this. Yeah, think about the victim in this case. Instead of the high school runner accused of attacking another runner, says that she wants people to think about her feelings. Oh, okay. Yeah, the comments in here are incredible. Have they filed charges? Do we know yet, Davey? They have not? Not yet to this point? I know the story said that, but I didn't know if we had an update there. I mean, I would, based on this. This is ridiculous. Also, can we play her reaction again? The tears here. I would love to know what happened immediately after the competition compared to the sit-down interview with WAVY.
Everybody has feelings. So you're physically hurt, but you're not thinking of my mental, right? They're going off of one angle. A couple times hitting her, my baton got stuck behind her back like this, and it rolled up her back. I lost my balance, and when I pumped my arms again, she got hit. I know my intentions, and I would never hit somebody on purpose. They're assuming my character, calling me ghetto, racist slurs, death threats, all of this just because of a 9-second video.
Okay, so I don't want the racial slurs or the death threats involved in this. But, I mean, I also don't want the immediate reaction to be, yeah, my arm got caught rolled up the back. her back, my baton was caught in my arm move. Your arm did move forward, carrying the baton that struck the girl in the back of the head. Here's hoping there's no skull fracture with that. There was a potential of that. So here we are, NFL free agency in full swing. And, nothing can be confirmed with all these contracts until Wednesday, which, again, whatever with that, the start of the new league year. This all changed, I don't know, was it 5-10 years ago now, when used to, on the Wednesday, when the new league year would begin, you would have coaches and, in some cases, general managers. They would fly all over the country and recruit players, like at midnight, 12:01. I remember Jim Schwartz, when he took the job to be the new head coach of the Detroit Lions. He was the defensive coordinator in Tennessee with the Titans. Kyle Vanden Bosch is a free agent. Jim Schwartz is on the front porch of Kyle Vanden Bosch's home. He just had twins. He and his wife just had twins. They're up tending to the newborns, and here is Jim Schwartz on the doorstep recruiting Kyle Vanden Bosch at 12:01 a.m. to the Detroit Lions. KVB ends up there. To prevent that, they're starting the new league year at noon Eastern on Wednesday, but it really starts on Monday at noon Eastern when all the contracts are negotiated. And I put negotiated, I should, in quotation marks, because the contracts are negotiated starting around the NFL Combine. Because Monday at 12:01, 12:02, Schefter's already reporting like 3 or 4 contracts done through unrestricted free agency. It's miraculous how the millions upon millions of dollars are negotiated down to the penny within a couple of minutes. It's just, it's outstanding work by both sides there for it to, be legal for 2 minutes and all of a sudden the contracts are done. Nonetheless, it's about the contracts that don't get done that really play a factor in the overall tenor and tone of a locker room. And we know Joe Burrow in Cincinnati it was out in front from the Super Bowl and the Pro Bowl week on, saying he wants his guys back. Like, if other teams are going to pay and pony up and have multiple receivers, and if the Philadelphia Eagles can have Devontae Smith and they can also have A.J. Brown, then why can't the Cincinnati Bengals have, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins? And they already re-signed Mike Gesicki. Good for him. He said he's willing to take a pay cut. Cincinnati Bengals haven't restructured a contract and kicked the can down the road in a decade for any player. But when you see a quarterback come out and do this, he's speaking on behalf of what we just saw, for instance, with Josh Allen in Buffalo, where the money that's in guaranteed money per year, average money per year, it's a lot of money, $55 million. That's what Burrow and Allen and the quarterback crop then, Herbert, that's what they got, 2 years ago, whenever they signed their contracts? 24%. That's how much the cap has gone up since then. And Allen is still getting about the same per season. He did a huge benefit to the Bills there. They're able to go out and acquire talent. Burrow was offered to do the same. But the real contracts that have to get done, and I think we know they will get done, I say that, but it's the Bengals. Jamar Chase is going to break the bank, and T. Higgins is already under the franchise tag. Trey Hendrickson wants a contract extension. There are rumors already starting about Joe Burrow being unhappy with the Bengals. The out in his contract is in 2027, which means that the Bengals need to get this offseason right. Because Burrow is in his prime. You have the ability to, they should already be doing this, take advantage of one of the best in the NFL in his prime. And while I think this report is not anything to go off of right now, I'm using it as an example of what will become a huge story a year from now if the Bengals don't hit in free agency and do some things around their quarterback starting this month. This from Undercovered NFL, and Undercovered NFL is some type of reporter. I'll get his name right, just for the sake of what this is. This is out of Cincinnati, Jacob Ekberg. And again, several 100,000 followers here on Instagram. Source, again, one source. Bengals franchise quarterback Joe Burrow is extremely displeased with the team's ownership and front office decisions over the past few seasons. And the belief is that it's just a matter of time before he requests a trade out of the organization. It's a huge leap there, displeased and then trade out. 2 league contacts I've spoken with on the topic believe it will occur next offseason if the Bengals put together another subpar campaign this season. And it seems like Burrow will be on his way out of Cincinnati. Burrow's earliest out in his current contract is after the 2027 season. A team trading for him next offseason would get at least 2 years of control with the 30-year-old quarterback at that point. This is an example of where rumor meets perception 12 months from now if the Bengals don't start getting the acquisitions right. They're right there offensively. They had, 5 games this past season where Burrow and company on offense put up more than 30 points per game. For perspective, the Titans struggled to score more than 17 points per game. The Bengals doubled that and lost 5 games due to their defensive effort. They were one of the more active teams, by the way, day one of free agency, the legal tampering edition. They didn't make any moves outside of their own roster or moves that the fan base would be like, oh, here we go. We've got this because Chase or Higgins or Hendrickson. They brought back defensive tackle B.J. Hill before he could hit the open market. Samaje Perine is back. He last played for the Bengals a couple of years ago. And they have T.J. Slayton. They brought him back from pulled him away from the Packers. Okay? Those are role players for this Bengals roster. But behind Burrow, it is about who I refer to as the thoroughbreds, the elite talent. And you have an elite quarterback that you have to take advantage of in his prime. There's only a handful of quarterbacks right now that fit that category. And the front office can't make those dragging the feet mistakes where if you re-sign players along the way, you end up saving your organization money now. Micah Parsons, think about the money that he's going to end up making because Jerry Jones doesn't do anything on the front end. Dak Prescott's another good example. Dak Prescott's making $60 million a year, highest paid in the NFL. Same could be said for Ja'Marr Chase because Myles Garrett currently is the highest paid non-quarterback. The Bengals have already publicly said that that's going to be what Chase is going to end up getting because the representation for Ja'Marr Chase is putting that out there. But good, should be. But if you get the deal done first, then you don't have to surpass what Garrett was receiving. That's where the Bengals are. That's the problem with the Cincinnati Bengals. They don't restructure, even though their quarterback is willing to. And, well, they need to do more on the front end instead of waiting for things to occur and fall into place. So some movement across the NFL today. And with the Aaron Rodgers discussion, best fits for Aaron Rodgers. Here is Michael Robinson on NFL Network with his opinion on the best landing spot for the NFL vet.
But for Aaron Rodgers, best fit for him, who do you have?
Oh, man. That recliner he got in that big house he got, that's the best fit. The couch, man. What you doing, Aaron? You done made almost $400 million in this league, bro. You got your championship. You're one of the all-time greats, man. You're great in the media. I'd love to see you with a podcast or something. I think you'd be very entertaining. But yes, we saw him look better toward the end of last season with the New York Jets, man. But I don't know. Maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers, yeah, because they do have the structure. They're used to dealing with older players, and Mike Tomlin understands how to talk to a guy like an Aaron Rodgers. But for real, is Aaron Rodgers going to be all the way in? He's going to come to OTAs. He's going to come to minicamp. Is he going to have some retreats he has to go on? Does he have his own business he has to do? I mean, I don't know. Pittsburgh Steelers aren't used to that type of life coming from their quarterback. So I would say the recliner.
Can't be the recliner because there are too many teams right now that will pay way more than the recliner, and are desperate. I mean, sometimes I'm desperate to get the recliner, right? Sit back and watch all this NFL free agency news. Here's what I do know about Aaron Rodgers. It is I think it's way overplayed, the quote-unquote distraction of Rodgers, because it was 2 years ago where he ends up with the New York Jets. He comes out of the darkness retreat. Again, then it was like funny, the darkness retreat. And all of a sudden, just miraculously, he sees green. Just came out and just saw the color green. He ends up with the Jets. I mean, the deal was done. And now all of a sudden it's a distraction because he's quirky and he's weird and all this stuff. But that offseason, when he got there, Sauce Gardner's like trading chains with the guy on Hard Knocks. There is a pep in the step. There is an energy about the offseason. Now, I agree with what those who jump in and say, well, he's not big on OTAs in the offseason. He's going to Egypt or Africa or wherever he went instead of going to mandatory minicamp. Mandatory minicamp, by the way, is 2.5 days that ends with a dizzy bat race in most cases. But he wasn't there with the team. You know, it's just it's a visual point of emphasis. I get that. There's a leadership aspect to it. But Rodgers was motivated coming off of the Achilles. And while he certainly does not have the same movement, he's much slower, he's older, all of that. The New York Giants and the Pittsburgh Steelers need him. Especially Pittsburgh. Because without him, who are you staring down? The quarterbacks that you don't want. And honestly, they didn't want Rodgers. But he's the next best option. And the next best option for Rodgers, apparently, is the recliner. Dudes are going to get paid. And Rodgers wants to play 2 more years. This is not about the upcoming season. He wants 1 more year. Now, if you're Aaron Rodgers, if you want 2 years, do you go to the New York Giants or the Pittsburgh Steelers? Because with the Giants, in year 2, you're probably with a new coaching staff. And with the Steelers, you're more likely to be back for year 2. And new coaching staff, new GM, probably looking for a new team if you want to play 2 more years. Daniel Jones, he gets paid to compete with Anthony Richardson and the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts said they were going to bring competition for the number 4 overall pick from a couple of years ago. They have not done great service to Richardson in developing him, mainly because they've been playing him. I mean, when he was drafted, some scouts, some general managers anonymously were saying, he really needs 2 years of development time. Keep in mind, Jalen Milroe right now needs a year. They're saying 2 years at the time for Anthony Richardson. The guy had only thrown 400 total passes or 400 total snaps from high school to college. I mean, he barely played for Dan Mullen for whatever reason. He's barely played for the Indianapolis Colts. He's tapping out in some cases because he's tired. Daniel Jones, meanwhile, he's played plenty of snaps, and Giants fans wish he didn't. Now he's competing for the job, and therein lies the quarterback market. That's why Rodgers is playing, because Daniel Jones is competing for a job for the Indianapolis Colts in the AFC South, a very winnable division. And instead of going the route of Fields, Wilson, that bar, it's now Daniel Jones. Davey Hudson, your thoughts on Daniel Jones versus Anthony Richardson and the message that it sends that Anthony Richardson, number 4 overall pick, with the quarterback developer in Sirianni, that you have one of his proteges now developing Richardson, a guy that they were standing on the table for.
Well,
and Daniel Jones is signed.
I mean, in fairness, Daniel Jones was the 6th overall pick. Not many teams have the 4th and 6th overall pick on their roster,
fair.
especially from the quarterback position. I love this move from just a purely entertainment standpoint, because the fact Chris Ballard's been able to keep his job for as long as he has, and this is the current plan
dude.
for this upcoming season, I'm mesmerized to see how this turns out. And it's one of those things where this isn't a move that, if you're Daniel Jones, you can sit back and think, I'm not the clear-cut favorite to be the starter, based off how Anthony Richardson, I believe, is viewed in that locker room because of him tapping out, as you mentioned.
Well, I mean, there are signals you send. So let me go back to my theme here. Really, the NFL offseason is about the moves you can't make, you don't make, or you refuse to make. There's no telling who the Colts were actually trying to sign. But they end up with Daniel Jones, and the perception is Daniel Jones is brought in to compete with Anthony Richardson. They could have been in the mix for Fields. Now, Fields was a Jet the whole way. He's getting $30 million guaranteed. The Steelers didn't want him back. They did, but not at that price. Point being, it ends up being Daniel Jones, and you're right about the locker room thing, because I think a good case would be here in Tennessee. Will Levis. The Titans just can't walk back in and say Will Levis is unequivocal. He is competing for the job, because everyone in that locker room, the players know. Seriously? You're talking about upgrading these in the quarterback position. We're just going to try to run it back after what happened last year and what we went through and the ups and downs, and there were more downs than ups. We have the number 1 overall pick, and the plan of the offseason is just to compete with Will Levis. No. You can't do that. Now, it's easier to do the opposite and say, at best, Will Levis is going to have competition in Nashville. That means he's the backup. With Richardson, he's the number 4 overall pick. And Ballard is tied to him. The entire staff would be tied to him. And you have to make sure that when he goes back in, he takes over and grabs hold of the leadership position and the intangibles. He didn't do that. So that's why you bring in Daniel Jones. You bring in a backup to compete. The locker room will tell us in the preseason about who's winning that job. And if Anthony Richardson doesn't grab the leadership role, peace out for everybody in that front office. Because Daniel Jones doesn't grab hold of a locker room. There's a flash in the pan, and both quarterbacks fit that description. That's not great news, and the Colts have a pretty solid roster. I would say the Colts are very similar to Cleveland. Just top to bottom, 53-man roster. They're not best in the league. They're not the worst. But the end result is about the QB, and the Colts don't have one. They haven't developed one, and Jones is likely to come in as a savvy vet and push him for the job. And once you give the job to Richardson, you've got to let him keep it until he taps out because he's tired. He can't do that again. And that's where the players know. Players are talking to him on the flight back. Leadership's talking to their young quarterback on the flight. You can't do that. You can't get to the podium. It's not, to me, it wasn't even about going to the podium and admitting it. It's just the fact that he did it. And we never saw Daniel Jones do that. So
I want to get your thoughts on this, Hut, because the Vikings wanted Daniel Jones back. Now, I highly doubt it was at the $14 million one-year asking price. But if you're talking about just a great fit, I feel like working for Kevin O'Connell would be better if you are Daniel Jones. But I think it also goes to show you how you view that locker room and what they are expecting for J.J. McCarthy. That's another guy that's going to be taking over if healthy. Again, we still are waiting to see on that. But he's like, you know what? I'm actually going to take the chance and feel like I've got a better opportunity based off what the Colts have in their quarterback room with Anthony Richardson.
Well, so in Minnesota, you can bring him in as the backup because you have your starter. There's no competition. Now there's a competition, and Daniel Jones is battling for the job in Indianapolis. Like the way things have gone, and I felt like I was on with Dan Doggett on Don't At Me 2 weeks ago. We were discussing this. I felt like the floor, whenever you're saying, okay, we're having an open competition. You either mean that or you don't. This is Anthony Richardson's job right now. It has to be, because Daniel Jones is competing for it. I felt like the floor of competition is like Justin Fields. Justin Fields against Anthony Richardson. That's true competition, because Justin Fields could go in there and take it, and the locker room would rally around that. I'm not rallying around either guy right now. If I'm signing the free agent to come in, I don't want a free agent at quarterback. If I'm a team that needs a starter, all right? If I'm a team who needs a starter, I don't want to sign a free agent quarterback who wants to come in and compete for a job. I want a mentality of I'm coming in to take that job. Jones isn't doing that. And Richardson hasn't done that. So I think the Colts are screwed. We'll ask John McClain about this coming up. But first, White House invitation. The Eagles, they're accepting it. And they can't wait to. Good for them. Chad and I and many others have we sit here and have the sense, if you were invited to the White House, if you were invited to our nation's capital with our president and leader of the free world, you absolutely go. No matter who's in office, you go. There's a patriotism to that and what it represents that you don't turn down. So while the Eagles turned it down, 2017? Not doing it now. And cheers to that.